Hello, everybody. Welcome to TOEFL Talk, a brand new video series that's going to help you pass the TOEFL speaking section. And you can grab your coffee. We're going to have a great class, and we're going to be talking initially about the TOEFL section. What is it? What does it consist of? And then after, we're going to listen to some examples of students who do question 1 for the speaking, and I'll be giving some tips and observations there. So, are you ready? Go grab that coffee. Let's go. So, when we're talking about the TOEFL, there are two choices that you have. You can either do the test at home, the home test, or you can do it at a test center. The pros, there's no noise, because it's your own environment. And if you have a quiet apartment or a quiet house, then that's going to be the best place to do the test. We sometimes can experience some distractions when you're doing the test at a test center. There are other students who might be talking while you're trying to concentrate on the reading. They might be typing very loudly, and that can be difficult to concentrate. Of course, you're going to need a camera to show the proctor who is giving you the test before you do the test. Before you start it, they will they'll ask you to do a 360 around your workstation to make sure that everything is safe and secure for the test. One of the cons of doing the test at home is that you can't use a headset. Yes, and you have to use the microphone, the built-in microphone, on your laptop. Now, ways that you could get around that, of course, would be to buy some USB speakers and to buy a USB microphone. If you do end up using your laptop for the home test, what I advise is check the recording, the internal mic on your laptop to make sure that it's good quality, that you can't hear the fan on your laptop, that you're not too far away. Those things are very important to get the best quality recording of your voice. A few other things I want to mention about the home test is that when you're doing your note taking, in case you don't know, is that you'll have to write on a transparent plastic sheet with an erasable marker. So you need to get used to that kind of note taking. So you're going to have to weigh your options. Some people live in noisy neighborhoods. They have noisy neighbors. Maybe your neighbor's doing a renovation in the apartment next to you or above you. So you want to be sure that your home environment is going to be nice and quiet the day of the test. So for the TOEFL speaking, we have 4 questions now. Used to be 6. Isn't that nice? Now it's only 4. And the first question is to explain a choice. The second question is to explain a campus situation. The third is an academic lecture. And the fourth is an academic lecture also. So we're going to focus in TOEFL Talk 1 here today about the first question, explaining a choice. And one of the most important things you need to remember is that this is very short. You only have 15 seconds to prepare, 45 seconds to answer. So you're really going to need to develop the habit. You're going to need to develop a neural pathway so that you can automatically come up with answers. Initially, it may take longer, but practice makes perfect. I've seen this with a lot of my students, is that we practice this all the time. And on top of that, many of the questions that you practice often repeat themselves on the real day of the test. One of my other important points for question 1 is you want to simplify your answer. What do I mean by that? In the choice question, you're telling the reviewers, the raters, what is your choice and why you prefer that. Now, there are 2 ways to do that. One is the risky way, which is to say, well, I don't like B, blah, 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 and I like A because of blah, blah, blah. That's one way. It's possible if you can show that your choice is much stronger. A much easier way to do it, the one way I would suggest, is that you make a choice of 2 or 3 options and you give 2 or 3 supporting points. Simplify it. That is the best formula, in my opinion. Now, another tip that I can give you is with discourse markers. These are extremely important, not just for yourself, but also for the person who's rating your score. This is a GPS that will give you marcation points so that you don't get lost and the person who's listening to you doesn't get lost when he's rating your speaking. So now we're going to take a look at a sample question and 2 sample answers. Some people who unexpectedly receive a large amount of money spend it on practical things, while others spend it for pleasure only. Which do you think is better and why?
If a person receives a large amount of money, I believe it's better for him or her to use it for practical things rather than on pleasure only. Because there's been a lot of cases with people who win the lottery and they spend almost all the money for their own pleasure. And once they finish spending, then they don't have any more money to live the same kind of luxurious lifestyle. And at that point, a lot of people have lost their jobs or kind of got eaten over by all the money and all the greed that's involved. So, I believe we should just spend it on practical things.
So, this answer was good, but it was incomplete. And I'm going to be talking about that in a second. So first off, how are they going to evaluate your speaking? Well, essentially, they're going to be looking at your pronunciation and fluidity, if your speaking flows, your grammar and vocabulary, and the structure of your answer. If you're able to organize your ideas, your argument, your explanation. Her pace was good. Her fluidity was excellent. Her pronunciation was really good as well. So she starts off well. She starts talking about why she doesn't like one of the choices. And she uses some great vocabulary here when she uses the collocation luxurious lifestyle. Also at that point, she does run into some trouble when she says that when people lose their jobs, they get eaten over. I've never heard that one before. And she also uses the word greed, very context-specific word. So because of her pronunciation and the use of vocabulary, grammar was fine too. It was a good answer, but it's not a great answer. And the reason for that is that her choice, she didn't say why, what were the reasons for her choice. She said the reasons why she would not choose the other one. So it's an incomplete answer. Now we're going to listen to another answer.
I think what's spent it for pleasure only is better. My reason is that first, because now the life is so stressful. If you can buy something or do something to relax is so important. And second, pleasure is very important for every people. If someone is always happy, he or she will have a longer or happier life.
So first off, the thing that really threw me off listening to this answer, and I had to listen to it more than one time, I'm not going to lie. And when I have to do that, it's already not a good sign. I'm used to listening to people who have different accents around the world every day. I've been doing that for many years. And in this case, I struggled. So we have, for example, now knife is so stressful. Knife is so stressful. Actually, I'm afraid of knives, but I know that's not what she wanted to say. She wanted to say life. So this is a common pronunciation challenge for some Chinese speakers, particularly. By the way, if you need some pronunciation tips, I have a playlist for many different nationalities, many different videos for people from around the world. Yeah. Buy or do something to relax is so important. So buying or doing something to relax is so important. Okay, she's going in the right direction here, but she didn't give any examples. She didn't do what I say to flesh things out a little bit, to give more detail. So it's there, but a little sketchy. Once again, she's in her next point. She says pleasure is important. So try to avoid using the same words over and over again. So she says important, important. That gets a little repetitive, and you could use other things like pleasure is essential. Pleasure is something that people really need. You can find other ways of saying it. She also says for every people, every person, if someone is always happy, he or she will have a longer or happier life. Okay, it's once again, it's another good example. Enough, it's sufficiently different from her first point, I guess. And it's okay, but once again, it's not fleshed out. She doesn't give examples, and it's very general, very sketchy. So overall, her answer is too superficial. The speaking is choppy, it lacks fluidity, and the intonation is also poor. I can tell you from a lot of my experience that you can have a good answer, a good structured answer, and if your pronunciation is not up to par, if you're making some mistakes like the ones I described, everybody has them in their own language, that can be the reason why you are not getting the speaking score that you deserve. Okay, everybody, I hope that this TOEFL Talk 1 was useful for you. Did you finish your coffee yet that we started drinking at the beginning of this lesson? And I will be doing more TOEFL Talk videos. I have lots of experience doing this. And if you would like me to do a writing series, that's another thing I do with my private students, you let me know in your comments. If you would like to watch more TOEFL videos, you can do that here. You can also subscribe to my channel here. If you need private TOEFL lessons, you can contact me at the link below this video or follow me on my social networks. If you're one of my other students that studies with me for other subjects like General English, Business English pronunciation, I hope that this lesson was useful for you too. And we will see you in our next TOEFL Talk lesson. Bye, everybody.